I've been anticipating this film since Leigh Whannell gave us his original take on The Invisible Man back in 2020. So is this new take on The Wolfman any good or worth watching in theaters? Let's get started on my review of Wolfman. Let's go. What's going on, all my flicksters? This is Jacey from Jacey Flicks, and I just finished watching Wolfman. Before I do start my review, please note this will be a spoiler-free review, just in case you haven't seen it yet, currently showing in theaters. Also, please make sure that you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on more new horror movies that I'm reviewing just like this. So Wolfman stars Christopher Abbott, Julia Garner, Matilda Firth, and more. Blake and his family are attacked by an unseen animal and, in desperate escape, barricade themselves inside a farmhouse as the creature prowls the perimeter. Alright, so the Wolfman has gone through a lot the past few months. Even with that being said, there's been some social media mishaps, especially with Universal unveiling the monster's look during Horror Nights last year towards the end of the year, and it being something that, of course, we all thought, wait, what? That just does not look like a wolf or a wolfman or anything even remotely close to it. And since then, I felt like a lot of people have only been anticipating it and been cautiously optimistic because of Leigh Whannell and his incredible take on The Invisible Man back in 2020. With that being said, I still had to see this film, but it wasn't one of those, anymore at least, that I was excited and had to see on the first opening day. So I didn't get early screening passes for it and just kind of let it fall by the wayside, which is why this past weekend I decided I'm gonna see it anyways, but I'm not in a hurry to see it. Now, thematically, the film explores the complexities of masculinity, familial inheritance, and the duality of protection and harm within parenthood. While the metaphor is intriguing, its execution feels a little muddled, never fully delivering a cohesive message. The film often relies on exposition rather than subtext, leaving its commentary on gender and relationships feeling a little bit shallow. There are some emotional beats here and there throughout the film, but it never really gives us more than what we should have gotten, especially with the relationship between Blake and his daughter, and Blake, of course, is played by Christopher Abbott. So when the third act does come in, you don't feel as much of an emotional punch as you were supposed to if there had been a little bit more depth provided with these two in their relationship as father and daughter and everything that Blake does go through in the film. And honestly, I would say that the first half of the film, mainly the first two acts, it was pretty solid. At least to me it was, and I thought in my head, this actually isn't bad, contrary to what everyone's talking about and what they're saying. And then the third act does come in and it falters a bit, and you could definitely see that, and you kind of don't feel much for the film even after it's over and you leave. The Wolfman attempts a twist on a classic monster flick, bringing in a modern tale but mixed in with some werewolf lore. Now, director Leigh Whannell reimagines werewolf lore not as a curse but as a disease. Visually and narratively, it makes it unsettling, but you kind of have to really be sold on this different type of concept. Now, I do admire him being original in this take and doing something a little bit different, kind of like what he did with The Invisible Man, but you're not really sold even by the end of the film, and it just feels like there could have been more done, especially in the horror aspect of that. Christopher Abbott, aka Blake, his transformation is gradual, beginning with a painful rash and escalating to jaw shifts, fangs, and a grotesque final form that blends kind of some features that you're not expecting with some scars. And the odd thing about this, you guys, is as the film was coming closer and closer to the release date, Universal actually released a clip about a week ago of the transformation of Christopher Abbott's character in the film. Now, this questionable choice was not only questioned by fans and a lot of people who are excited to see it, but it also made you think maybe they weren't that confident in putting out this film and they were really trying to get butts in the seats. Now, I will say the film's standout moments include inventive camera work and great sound design. And I will say that, even me being a musical artist myself, I did appreciate some of the sound design and some of the aspects that you do see when you're kind of in the perspective of Blake and his transformation. And that's kind of what kept me intrigued for most of the film. One particularly chilling shot, used twice in the film, involves characters hiding in a hunter's deer blind as an unseen beast breathes mere inches away. You kind of see this breath in one of the shots and then you see it in the back of the character. It's pretty neat. I actually love those parts. Whannell captures the tension with a landscape-like framing that is both eerie and visually stunning. There's parts where the characters are trying to talk to Blake and he's slowly turning and he is misunderstanding everything they're saying, and you kind of hear this muffling with a lot of the sound design, so you start to see it in his aspect and he's not able to understand the people who are talking to him. Now that was a neat little perspective and it kept me wanting to see more. However, the film's reliance on dim lighting in certain situations and heavy shadows can kind of detract from your experience as you're watching it. There was one scene in particular when they're hiding in a barn and I really couldn't see anything around them and I was wondering what's going on. Then the scene proceeds with the creature finding them, and that's when you see, oh, okay, that's where they are and the creature. While the atmosphere is suitably foreboding, the scares are more about suspense and dread than outright horror, falling short of what it could have been. Another aspect that kind of took me out of the film a bit was his look, and I hate to say that because I was trying to give Leigh Whannell and the film the benefit of the doubt. Now, I know this premise involves a virus and Blake is slowly transforming throughout the film, but it looks a lot less scary to me and not much like an actual wolf, but rather like a diseased man. Now, let's talk more about the acting. Christopher Abbott delivers a layered performance as Blake, portraying a man grappling with inherited trauma and his growing monstrous instincts. His physical transformation is a bit unsettling, and his descent into turning into the creature feels pretty genuine for the most part. Abbott excels in conveying the internal conflict of a father desperate to protect his family while realizing he's becoming their greatest threat. Now, Julia Garner does shine as Charlotte, providing the emotional core of the film. Her portrayal of a strong yet conflicted partner grounds the story, especially as she shifts from a frustrated wife to a determined survivor. Matilda Firth as Ginger adds more depth to the family dynamic, offering moments of innocence that contrast the film's darker themes. But despite these strong individual performances, the character arcs lack nuance. Charlotte's initial portrayal as a career-focused critical spouse feels one-dimensional, though her later heroism redeems her. Now here's my overall thoughts, you guys. The Wolfman is a visually striking reimagining of werewolf lore, with standout moments of tension and a fresh perspective on the classic tale. However, its thematic ambition is undercut by uneven storytelling and unclear messaging. While Leigh Whannell showcases his flair for atmosphere and innovative visuals, the film's focus on craft comes at the expense of narrative depth. Now, fans of Whannell's earlier work may appreciate the creative touches, but The Wolfman ultimately falters and isn't really as good as his last film, which was The Invisible Man. With all that being said, you guys, I'm gonna give Wolfman 3 flames out of 5 and a fair or mid rating.
Okay.
While Wolfman takes an admirable psychological approach, the film ultimately falls short due to its meandering story and underdeveloped characters. The performances are undeniably strong, and the practical effects showcase a commendable level of craftsmanship, but the creature design feels lackluster and fails to leave a lasting impression. Despite some standout production elements, these moments are too few to compensate for a narrative that struggles to find direction, often feeling aimless without clear purpose. Alright guys, so have you seen Wolfman yet in theaters? Also, which Wolfman film is your favorite? Aside from the original Universal Studios classic with Lon Chaney Jr., I actually enjoyed the 2010 remake of The Wolfman starring Benicio del Toro, Anthony Hopkins, and Emily Blunt. Let me know in the comments though below. Last thing before I do go, you guys, please make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date. My name's Jacey from Jacey Flicks, and until next time, I'm out.